Good afternoon, students. Today, objectives of today's class are Unit 6, Export, Pricing, Documentation, and Logistics. Okay. So, today, objectives of today's class are we are going to learn about export pricing, documentation, logistics, elements of cost sheet. So, first, export pricing. Price fixed for the export products or services which the exporter intends to sell in the overseas market is called export pricing. Export price of a given product is determined by many factors. There are number of methods used for the purpose of costing in exports. So these methods are divided into three groups. That is job or batch costing, process costing, and standard costing. So these are the three methods which are having export pricing are job or batch costing, process costing, and standard costing. And next, what are the objectives of export pricing? So in objectives of export pricing there are four. The survival, second one is maximum sales profit, then maximum sales growth. Sorry, second one is maximum sales growth, then maximum current profit, and last one is establishing leadership. So these are the four objectives of export pricing. So in detail we are going to learn now. So that is survival. Survival is an exporter forces competition not only from his fellow exporters but also from other country exporters. In much competitive markets, one of the marketing tools which can make the exporter survive the competition is pricing. Making price competitive, thereby earning less profit in order to survive, could be only one of the objectives of pricing. Keeping prices competitive and maintaining low prices is a short term objective, as every exporter aims at increasing profits at the later stage. So, this is about survival. Next one is maximum sales growth. Maximum sales growth. As an exporter survives the competition, the objectives shifts to having maximum sales growth. Depending upon competition and sensitivity of the market to price, the final pricing decision needs to be taken. There are two alternatives available for this purpose. So first alternative is setting lower prices to overseas buyers leads to higher sales volume, thereby earning more profits. For this process, market should be highly price sensitive. Such low price discourage competition, thereby further increasing sales. So this is the first alternative. And another alternative is selling. Another one is selling higher prices to increase the super quality of the product. Such indications local leads consumers to rare products higher consumed or compared to that of the competitors. Due to this perception, sales volume of the market or a product increases. Then next, then maximum. Third one is maximum current profit. So we have learned about survival objective and maximum sales growth we have learned and maximum current profit. An exporter may determine his objective of securing maximum profits. A piece which would generate such a profit is to be established. For this purpose, it is necessary to have complete information of cost and demand. A price which can generate maximum ca- cash flows or higher rate of return is determined. But this objective is more of the short term nature and bases its performance on profits which may turn out to be dangerous in export market. And coming to establish leadership. Establishing leadership. Another objective behind pricing is to be established not only superior quality image but also emphasize on leadership or number one position in the export markets. By charging a higher price and making a noticeable difference in the price as compared to that of competitors, this objective can be fulfilled. So these are the four objectives of export pricing: survival, maximum sales growth, and maximum current profit, and establishing leadership. So now we are going to learn about what is the importance of export pricing. So generally the consumers are extensively sensitive about quality and price of the product. If the price is not only properly set, success of the firm in the international market becomes doubtful. The volume of sales and market demand depends on pricing policy. Competitive capacity in foreign market depends on the price fixed. It decides the success and failure of export efforts. Export pricing builds goodwill in the market. Diversification, research and development, etc. Export pricing helps in capturing foreign market, develops brand image and product differentiation. Pricing helps in presentation or penetration of market by keeping them low initially and gradually pricing them. Pricing not only helps in increasing profit and raising revenue, but also in enhancing market share of the product. Pricing helps by having good profitability to undertake the diversification, research and development, etc. So these are the importance of export pricing. So documentation next. So in documentation, we have to take care of the export and import order documents. So price quotation documents are an essential issue in apparel merchandising process. So there are different types of process to prepare a price quotation by for buyers. Before price quotation process, we need a few important documents. So those documents are also required for export and import process. So what are now we are going to learn what are the necessary documents required for a garment export and import. So first one is import documents. In order to release imported goods from the part report, the following documents are necessary for execution garments order process. There are follows. First one is bill of entry, copy of bill of lading, copy of invoice, and letter of credit authorization, that is LCA. Then packing list, certificate of origin CO, UD by UP, utilization declaration or utilization permission, then copy of master L by C and commercial invoice. Then pro forma invoice, that is copy of insurance, cover note PSI, that is pre-shipment inspection and any other documents. So these are all import documents. Coming to export documents. Export documents are according to the import documents. We need to export documents also for execution of a government order. An exporter should have to submit the following documents to the customs authority. First one is the shipping bill of entry, export L by C, then UD utilization declaration, packing list insurance, that is BBFQA form to be supplied by the C and agent, then export permission form EXP. So these are the export documents we have to submit in the export pricing. The next about logistics. Logistics is very much applicable to in apparel merchandising because in the factory the management is going to look after from raw material to the last shipment. So the logistic is a management of the flow of the materials and services between the point of origin and the point of use in order to meet the requirements of the customers or cor- corporation. It's called logistics. So these are the three objectives we have learned, that is export pricing, then we have learned about documentation and logistics. Now we are going to learn what are the elements of cost sheet is going to require. So before going to learn the elements of cost sheet, we are going to learn about what is cost sheet. Cost sheet is a statement which provides for the assembly of the detailed cost of center or cost unit. It is also a periodical statement. So elements of cost. There are 14 elements of cost. First one is direct materials, direct labor, other direct or chargeable expenses, prime cost, work expenses or overheads, scrap or wastage, work in process, office and administrative expenses, cost of production or other office cost of goods sold, selling and distribution expenses, and last one is profit. So these are the 12 elements which is going to have in cost. So in detail, we are going to learn about elements of cost sheet. First one is direct materials. There will be only one product and process manufacture. It is also simple. The raw material, if any, is directly charged to the production of the period in total. What are the direct materials? There will be only one product and the process of manufacture is also simple. The raw materials, if any, is directly charged to the production of the period in total. Then next, direct labor. The labor costs are collected periodically through payrolls which are prepared separately for each section of work. Then other direct or chargeable expenses. Expenses other than direct material and direct labor are chargeable expenses. Example, excise duty, royalty, expenses and designs, patterns and models, etc. Prime cost. The total of direct materials consumed, direct labor and other direct or chargeable expenses is known as prime cost. So work expenses or overheads. In unit costing, these expenses related to the product are added to the prime cost. So generally prime cost is total of direct materials consumed, direct labor and other direct or chargeable expenses. So, so work expenses or overheads includes indirect materials like oil, dusters, lubricants, indirect labors like wages to fireman, storekeeper, watchman, factory, chair clerk, etc. Then steam, fuel or electric power, lighting, heating and water in the factory. Repairs and depreciation of machine parts, plant, factory research, expenses related to factory establishment, drawing officer salary and welfare expenses and workman compensation, insurance, etc. All comes under works expenses or overheads. The next, scrap or wastage. In the production of anything, some wastage or scrap materials is obtained. Sometimes some of the units produced may be defective, and such units are scrap or wastage is sold. The amount this obtained should be deducted from factory expenses or from work cost. This is called, that means whatever the wastage or defective is obtained, that should be sold and added in the expenses cost. Then what is work in process? What is a work in progress? In any factory or workshop, there are always some units which are not yet complete, but on which some work has to be done. Such work is known as work in process or work in progress. The valuation of such work in process is made on the basis of the value of material already used, the amount of wages paid for the work concerned, and a proper share of the factory expenses. Since various units will be different stages of production, the value of work in progress will have to be estimated for each stage separately. The work in progress in the beginning is to be added to the current cost of production, and that at the end of the period has to be deducted from the manufacturing cost. This may be done when the factory expenses have been added to the prime cost. Then office and administrative expenses. Work cost or manufacturing cost is increased by office and administrative expenses. These are, for example, staff and management sales, director fees, stationery, printing, postage, telephone, fax, and miscellaneous office expenses, office rent, tax, insurance, light and water, counting houses or computer and accounting expenses, repairs, depreciation, and insurance of office building, furniture, and equipments. This all comes under office and administrative expenses. Then cost of production in or office cost. That means when office and administration overheads are added to work cost, the total shows cost of production. Then cost of goods sold. If all goods produced are not sold, the cost of goods sold would be ascertained. Selling and distribution expenses. These are added to the cost of goods sold. The total is known as cost of sales. And last one is profit. Profit is difference between the sales and cost of sales. So this is about elements of cost sheet we have done. So finally, we are going to learn again the important points of this today's class. That is export pricing. Export pricing is nothing but price fixed for the export products or services which the exporter intends to sell in the overseas market is called export pricing. So in this there are three groups, that is job or batch costing, process costing, and standard costing. So next one is objectives of export pricing. So objectives of export pricing, we are having survival, maximum sales growth, maximum current profit, then maintaining establishment or leadership. The coming to importance of export pricing is nothing but consumers are extremely sensitive about quality and price of the product. If the price is not properly set, success of the firm in the international market becomes doubtful. The volume of the sales or market demand depends on pricing policy. Competitive capacity in foreign market depends on the price fixed, decides the success and failure of the export efforts. Export pricing builds goodwill in the market. Then export pricing helps in capturing foreign market, develops brand image and product differentiation. Pricing helps in penetration of market. Pricing not only helps in increasing profit and raising revenue but also in enhancing the market share of the product. Pricing helps by having good profitability or of the to undertake diversification, research and development, etc. And to in the cost expert pricing, documentation very important, which is going to help in maintaining the uh, cost sheet order. That is export and import documents. So import documents will require bill of entry, copy of the bill, color of in copy of invoice, letter of credit authorization, that is LCA, then packing list, certificate of origin, UD by UP, utilization declaration, utilization permission, and copy of market, and copy of master, sorry. Then commercial invoice and pro forma invoice is copy of insurance cover note and PSI, pre-shipment inspection, and any other documents. In export documents, we require shipping of bill or of entry, export L by C, and UD, utilization declaration, then packing list, insurance, then BBIQA form, then export permission form. So these are the export documents we have to maintain. And finally, we have learned what is logistic is nothing but logistic is defined as the management of the flow of materials and services between the point of origin and the point of use in order to meet the requirements of the customers or corporation. Elements of cost sheet. Elements of cost sheet is a document which provides for the assembly of the detailed cost of center or cost unit. It is also a periodical statement. And elements of cost are there are 12: direct materials, direct labor, other direct or chargeable expenses, prime cost, work expenses or overheads, scrap or wastage, work in progress, other office and administrative expenses, cost of production or office cost, cost of goods sold, selling and distribution expenses, and profit. So 12 are the elements which are having cost sheet. So if in the maintenance of industry, all should be maintained. That is for export pricing, um, documentation will require along with the direct labor. Direct material means that is what there will be only one product and process of manufacture. And direct labor is the labor costs are collected periodically through only roles. Then other direct and chargeable expenses are designs, patterns, and models, etc. Prime cost is the total of direct materials consumed, direct labor, and direct other direct or chargeable expenses are called as prime cost. And work expenses or overheads means nothing but indirect materials like oil, clusters, lubricants, indirect labor like storekeeper, um, factory clerk, and watchman, etc. Then then lightning, steam, fuel, electric power, heating, water, rent, insurance, rate of factory, etc. And scrap or wastage is nothing but in any the production of anything, some wastage or scrap material is obtained, so that is going to be sold, and that profit is going to be included in total expenses. And coming to work in progress, generally in any factory the some work is going on, so that is nothing but also called as work in progress or work in process. So the work in process in the beginning is to be added to the current cost of the production, and that at the end of the period it is to be deducted from the manufacturing cost. Then office and administrative expenses, which includes staff and management salaries, director salaries, stationery, printing, postage, cell phone, fax, office rent, tax, accounting, house or computer and account expenses, repairs, etc. All comes under office and administrative expenses. When coming to cost of production on our office cost is when office and administrative overloads are added to the work cost. The total shows the cost of production. The cost of goods sold. If all goods produced are not sold, the cost of goods sold should be ascertained. Then selling and distribution expenses are they are added to the cost of goods sold. This the total is known as cost of sales. And finally, profit. Profit is difference between sales and cost of sales. So by this, today's the objectives of 4 is completed. That is export. In the export pricing, we learned in that importance and objectives we learned, and definition we learned, and documentation we learned about definition of logistics we learned, and finally element of cost sheet and elements of cost sheet we learned. So we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you. Mm.